Hey there YouTube, this is sjm4306 back with another review video. This time I was contacted by Kingslim, and they released a new dash camera and they asked if I was interested in checking it out. Now just a little background information, this guy goes for, I believe it's $89.99 currently on Amazon. I have links down below to the sales page, but as of the time of filming, it's about 90 bucks. And this is the model D5, which is a 4K dash cam. And this has kind of all the bells and whistles that you'd kind of expect. It has 4K recording capability, 60 FPS. It does have a night mode, so we definitely will check that out. Some of the other cameras I've filmed in the past didn't do so great filming it at night. So that's one thing I think if you want to have a dash camera, like a night recording mode is definitely kind of necessary, having a low light mode. It does do time-lapse recording, I guess, if you wanted to. But the standout features of this camera actually has built-in GPS and Wi-Fi. So it will location like geotag your videos. Having GPS might help if you wanted to use this for like document if you get in an accident or something. This will actually geotag the video itself if you needed that to. And the Wi-Fi is actually to grab videos off the camera without having to, unplug it, bring it inside, plug it into USB. You can do all that, or you can just download their app and then wirelessly transfer this to your phone while you're driving or whatever. Anyway, so yeah, those are the standout features. It says 4K Dashcam D5. Does do your standard like motion detection, so if you're parked, you can actually have it. If it detects any sort of motion, it can start recording from that point. Emergency recording, etc., etc. High dynamic range, 24-hour parking monitor, and this will accept, according to this, up to 256 gig micro SD card. I'm willing to bet it'll actually go higher than that, but that's at least to the memory capacity that they tested to. So other than that, the maximum photo resolution is 12 megapixels, which is, I believe, actually the same sensor size as what I'm filming with. And it has a 170-degree wide field of view, so it will be able to capture significantly more. Additionally, it does have a 2-inch IPS LCD. That's interesting that they specify IPS, so better quality there. And it works over a pretty wide temperature range, so -4 to 140 degrees. So if you leave this in your car, it's going to be baking, obviously. So that's definitely good to see that they tested it. So let's just pop this open. Open this way. Okay. So here we have what I believe is the camera. Yep, front and center. Has, of course, your protective films on everything. We have the lens, which is actually, the lens itself is quite large, but you can see the sensor. It's probably going to be significantly smaller, but most of this is just the fisheye lens here. We have contacts, which are interesting to see. We have, I believe this is maybe a mic. That's kind of like the vent holes for that. We have physical buttons, so this isn't not touch screened. It's operated through physical click buttons. We have a power button on the side. Underneath this protective flap, we have the mini USB. I kind of wish that they went with USB-C. We have, I believe that's a charging indicator light, a reset button hole, so you can press like a pin or something in there if it freezes to reset it. A micro SD card slot in there, and that's nicely covered by this while not in use. And on the other side, we have what appears to be a speaker vent. So this has an onboard speaker, and we have the aforementioned 2-inch IPS LCD. We have a couple of accessories. Well, first off, I guess the quick start guide, which, yeah, it's about like not even 5 pages. I mean, there's really not that much to go through, just how to format it and then how to generally use it, and that's it. And it comes with a warranty card, so 2-year warranty. That's very nice to see that they'll stand behind this for 2 years after it's vacant in your car. And it comes with 2 sets of films, I guess like the screen protector, and yeah, just to protect it. That's nice that they come with that. We have a bunch of little adhesive hooks, I guess, to route the power cable. That's actually kind of useful. My current dash cam that I have in my car, the cord just flaps in the breeze, and it is kind of annoying, I'll admit. So it's nice that they included those, as well as some extra square adhesive pads to, I guess, mount the bracket to your car itself. Now, this does not use a suction cup mount, which I like and I hate at the same time. The suction cup mounts are awesome because of how convenient they are to put up and take down. They're not permanent, but they suck because they're also not permanent. I can't tell you how many days I come in, I open my car door and I see my camera just waving after it disconnected from my windshield, just flapping in the breeze, held only by the cord. Anyway, here's actually the GPS module, which doubles as a mount itself, and that's why we have those connections. It's so that, let's go, there you go, so that it can pass power and data from the GPS receiver to the main unit. And so that's actually really nice design. I figured that you had to plug the power cord directly into the camera body. That's not necessary. You plug it into the GPS and it powers both. And this actually does have, feels like 3 ratcheting positions. And if you're careful, you can kind of set it in between the locking positions as well. So that's nice. And getting this guy off is pretty easy. There's just a pull tab here that just clicks right into place there. So that's a nice design. It's a lot easier to slide this off than some of the other mechanisms I've seen. And the unit itself, it's plastic. It's not like a particularly thick plastic. A little bit of flex in it, but it doesn't have to bear a lot of weight or anything like that. So yeah, this will have one of those little GPS ceramic antennas in there, I'm guessing, one of those little modules. It's a serial module, so I'm guessing that's why there's so few pins, just power, ground, and probably like UART, TX, and RX. That's a nice little mounting solution there. Would have liked if maybe they had an extra part that was optional that had a suction cup on it that you could attach to this. That would have been really nice to give you the option of either adhesive pad or suction cup. Anyway, beyond that, we have a little pry tool if you wanted to hide, I guess, the wiring inside your trim. You can use this. Always useful to have one of these. And we have the actual power cord itself. And this is just one of those 12-volt cigarette lighter adapters. And just plugs right into mini USB. And they give you plenty of cord length. I'll undo this and just see how long. This is going to be probably like at least 10 feet, it looks like. Yeah, I don't need to untangle this whole thing to know that this is going to be like 10 or 15 feet. So more than you'll ever need probably. Anyway, that's that. What I'm actually going to do for a change of pace, my dad's dash cam is actually failing. Half the time, I think it's the battery or something like that. If he bumps it, it'll stop recording while he's driving. So I'm going to install this in his car and get some footage that way. So killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Just before we do that though, let's just see. There's actually an indicator here, as well as a little hole. I wonder if that's a power indicator or something. Looks like this does not come charged. So give me 1 sec. I'm going to grab a power bank and fire this guy up just to see, just in case you guys were interested to see. I'm working on some GPS projects myself, so this is actually what these amplified powered GPS modules looks like. So yeah, you can see it clearly would fit in there. This has its own separate board, but some of them actually have it built in on the back of the module itself. So that's generally what you would expect to see inside that module. Anyway, I have a power bank and a mini USB cord. So let's just fire this guy up and make sure that it works. So I'm just going to charge it into here. So yeah, that's going to be your power charge indicator, and probably also do, it'll probably light up when it's charging, or when it's actually recording. Anyway, yeah, fires right up. So if you plug this in, leave this plugged into the cigarette adapter of your car, it'll auto turn on. You can see it's trying to get a satellite fix. Now we're in the middle of my house, so this is probably not an optimal place to to get a sat fix. You probably need to go by a window or something like that in this location. But yeah, once this is installed in the car, it shouldn't have any trouble with that. We can see, I'm guessing that's the parking indicator is turned off. Mic is turned on, 4K, it's currently set to record. Battery is charging, a recording indicator, and it's the elapsed time, I believe, as well as the date. And we can see Wi-Fi is on. Oh, actually, these are the actual buttons to control it. So I can turn on and off Wi-Fi, and it gives you the actual SSID so you can manually connect to it. Let's just pull this off. There we go. So I can go back. So yeah, these 4 buttons are just general purpose, and within the GUI it'll actually show you what you can do with each of them. We can go into settings and go up and down. So it actually doesn't do, let me just zoom in here. There we go. So it actually does not do 60 FPS at 4K. It'll only do 30. So but drop that down to 1080p and it'll do 60. That's fine enough for me. I'm probably going to set this on 1080p because any video that I record, I can't, my video editing software will only do 1080p max, so there's no actual benefit for doing 4K. Loop recording every 3 minutes, 5 minutes. I just usually set it for as long as I can. Beep sound, fine. Image size, you can actually set all the way from VGA up to 12 megapixels. That's fine. Frequency, that's our local lights, 60 hertz. Just set that. That's fine. G sensor, how much? This is basically like if your car gets hit while you're parked, it'll auto record. You can set the sensitivity on that because this actually has a motion sensor inside, like an accelerometer. Usually low or medium is fine. The EV setting, I'm just going to leave that as is. Our time zone, which once we get a GPS fix, I'm guessing it should be able to auto set the time. GPS, I'm in the US, so miles per hour. GPS information. So we do actually have some satellite locks. That's good. So we actually have about, what's that, 8 satellites locked right now? Yeah, 8, 7. And it currently doesn't have like a stable lock, so it's not showing my longitude and latitude. And I'm not moving, so speed is 0. But yeah, give it a couple minutes and I expect to be able to grab that information quite easily. Screen save, it'll shut off the screen after a certain time. This is actually capable of recording H.264 or H.265. 265 will have a higher compression, so it'll take up less memory, so it'll be more efficient, but certain playback systems might have trouble with that. Car no. What's car number? I guess your license plate number. That's interesting. We have date and time, which I would hope that you'd be able to do this with the GPS. It should be able to grab the time string from that. But you can always manually enter it, I guess. Motion detection, I do want that on. Date stamp onto the video in the corner, of course. HDR, of course, on. Parking mode, of course, on. And if you have an SD card, which I have to grab one later, you can manually format it. You can reset all the menu options to the default and look at the version. I'm running version 1.0 apparently. And it looks like this was updated pretty early this year, so it should be up to date, but you can obviously check to see if there's any firmware updates on a computer when it's connected. I do not have an SD card inserted, so it's going to complain about that. And I'm going to set this up in my dad's car. He's going to drive around for a bit, and I'm going to grab some footage and I'll show that to you guys.
Pennsylvania Turnpike, then keep left to Morgantown Interchange.
Okay, so I took a little longer on this one, so apologies to Kingslim on that one. I've been on vacation for the past 2 weeks, so I actually haven't been doing anything really related to videos. So I took a bit of a breather on that. I'm starting to get a little bit burned out. But anyway, I'm well and refreshed now. And I spent about 2 weeks just driving around to various places, so I have plenty of footage. And so here's my findings on the camera. So this model, the D5, now it's 4K, but just as a caveat, I really only record in 1080p. And what I've noticed is it definitely is 1080p, but there seems to be something going on. In certain still shots, it looks incredibly sharp. And when you start going through areas quicker, and if there's like kind of drastic changes between lights and shadows, I've noticed there's something going on with the image that kind of muddies it, and it basically looks like that blocky compression effect that you get sometimes with certain YouTube videos that are fairly heavily compressed. So my theory is that there's something going on between the sensor and it saving it to the memory card. It could be the bit rate isn't so high. Now, when I look at the raw video files themselves, it says it's like a significantly high bit rate. I think that, which is decently high for like an HD video, but I have a feeling that maybe there's some kind of subsampling or something going on in the DSP inside of here, some image processing that compresses the image down. Now, for about a 5 minute video file, I was averaging, I think it was around, I want to say like 400 megabytes for 5 minutes. So that's actually right in line with the resolution. And just judging, I watch plenty of video, judging from like the general quality of the video when things aren't moving very fast, it definitely is capable of at least 1080p. I don't know if the sensor itself will do 4K. I assume it will. Uh, you have to take that with a grain of salt, though. But definitely there's something going on. And so if you want to use this kind of for faster type video, like sports, action cam, something like that, that's not really going to work because it's going to end up blurring kind of your footage and it's going to look kind of blocky and not as like high contrast as something like very high bit rate 1080p video. That's one thing I do have to knock them on. Uh, Things that I like about this, the the video itself, you can actually embed if you turn on GPS, it'll actually embed your GPS coordinates as well as your speed that you're going, which I think is really cool. So that could particularly be very useful if you want to use this as like an accident cam to produce evidence in case you're in an accident and you know it's not your fault. In general, I think it's kind of neat, like being able to track where the video footage was taken. It doesn't embed it into the video file itself, like as a meta tag, unfortunately. It's just the text string at the bottom of the video. Okay, and a couple things I don't like about this. The clip, well, a thing I do like that you don't have to have anything plugged into the camera. Everything is through the like dock connector to the base, which I don't have. You don't notice here this piece right in here because you actually have to tape it to the dash or your window or whatever, however you're going to mount it. And that's sort of the annoying thing. So once you tape it there, you can remove it clearly. It's just double stick tape, but it's semi-permanent, and I really wish that they used like a suction cup design because I think that's a lot more versatile. But that notwithstanding, I like that it passes through all the connections through this connector, and it does seem like that would be reliable. Pretty beefy contacts. But unclipping this was a pain in the royal butt. There's like a little tab here, and you're doing it away from your face because it's mounted pointing towards the road, and it's really hard to see, and it took me like 15 minutes to get the damn thing off. So I guess it's not a problem if you never remove the camera, but if you ever do need to, it's a pain in the butt. Another thing, I actually ran into a really weird issue. And so my dad got a new car, and that's what I mounted this in, just as a test of both the camera as well as his car. And it started beeping like, well, the weird thing was we drove it for a little while, it was fine. And then all of a sudden we heard like like repeated beeps, like a set of 3 beeps every 10 seconds, and it would not shut off. And we didn't know it was a camera at first. We thought it was a car. And I went online, and people were saying all different sorts of stuff, like, oh, the seatbelt sensor, the wire might have snagged and it came off, and so that's an error. But nothing we could do would stop it, and we had no idea. It was coming from the camera, but it sounded like it was coming somewhere from in the car, like the console itself in the car. And we eventually found out that it was this guy. And what ended up happening was, I guess a file corrupted or something, and it couldn't write to the SD card. And we never noticed because shortly after you start the car, this will shut off, and then a couple minutes later, it'll start the beeping. So we never saw any errors on the screen. We never touched this to turn it on or off or check it, because we honestly didn't think it was the dash cam that was making the beeps. But anyway, sufficient to say I had to reformat the SD card, and then it worked fine. And it hasn't beeped at me since, but that was sort of really weird, and I didn't expect it to be this guy. So yeah, if something starts beeping in your car and you have this brand of dash cam, just check the dash cam and to see if it gives like an SD card format error. It was something along those lines. And all I did was I just reformatted it on the system within the menu, and it was fine after that point. So yeah, one thing you will notice about all the images, they're quite fisheyed. Towards the center of the screen looks fine, but as you get towards the periphery, you'll notice it kind of looks like a fishbowl shape. It distorts the image into kind of a roundish shape. Now, this could be a good or a bad thing. As like a dash cam, you're not really looking for like realism in the entire image or anything like that. So I think it might actually be a good thing, because it gives a slightly wider field of view. So you can see, for instance, if you're driving, you can see cars that other dash cams might not necessarily be able to see within the frame of the video if they don't have a fisheye lens. So I think it makes it a little capture just a little bit more, and that could be the difference between having footage that's usable or not. So I think that in this case, this is actually a pretty good thing to have on the lens itself. Now, one of the other cameras, action cams I have, actually had switchable. I don't know how it did it. Probably like crop the sensor image, but you can switch between wide angle and not. I haven't found a setting within the menus of this to do that, so I'm guessing it just takes the entire image and that's it. Oh, another thing, low light performance on this was actually pretty good. Definitely, actually, this is better than the last one that I reviewed, the last dash cam that I have in my car. That generally has a little bit of trouble in low light conditions, but this sensor is actually pretty good at low light. Pretty high contrast. You'll have seen it in some of my sample footage. It does tend to wash out, like get that kind of star effect around bright lights. Every camera kind of does that. Now, you aren't going to be able to pick out license plates or anything like that. Maybe in daylight if you're relatively close, but at night there's no chance, just because of how much glare that you get from any lit, especially like license plates tend to be, white background, and so any kind of light will reflect off that and it'll overpower the sensor. So that's one thing, but you can at least generally see pretty well different cars within your vicinity. So it definitely gives more usable footage than the last few cameras I've actually tested under low light conditions. So that's definitely a plus. So yeah, as to whether or not you really want to pick this up, I guess it comes down to what your use case is. If you need to have like the rear facing camera, this one isn't really, well, it isn't suited for that at all. There's no option to attach a rear camera or backup camera or none of that. It's just a forward facing camera. But I think in general it does a pretty good job. Image quality could be a little bit better from what I've seen in terms of whatever compression is going on there. I think that's sort of the Achilles heel of this. But in terms of the GPS, it worked. I never had any trouble. I don't think I ever got any dropouts. It was able to find satellites pretty quickly and get like a lock on. The Wi-Fi mode I actually haven't used yet, and I probably will never use. What I found most of these cameras, If you have HD video and you're trying to stream it over Wi-Fi direct using like the manufacturer's app, it's usually painfully slow. Like you can expect a 5-minute 1080p video to take you well over 5 minutes just to stream it and download it to your phone. So I think it's just quicker just to pop out the SD card by that point, and it's really easy to access this. Even when it's mounted to the car, you just take a fingernail and you pop it out. That's far easier and quicker than messing with the Wi-Fi. So I don't really care about that. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and this is sort of a random one. And I'm sorry it took kind of so long for this to get out. Like I said, I've been taking a bit of a break. I do have some other videos coming. I have some other review videos that I started before my vacation and I haven't finished yet. So those are going to take like a week or two more to get out. And then I have a much larger project video that I've been working on. I'm excited about, but shipping. I ordered parts like a month ago and they're still not here. So I'm going to have to figure something out on that. Hopefully they arrive. If not, I guess I need to like expedite order and try to get them here as fast as possible if that's possible. But you know how the supply chain is, and shipping and everything is an absolute nightmare now. So that video I really wanted to get done kind of by the end of this month, but I don't see that happening. I'm thinking maybe sometime in November, or if I'm totally out of luck, maybe early December. But anyway, I've rambled on for long enough, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.